the conversation with Coach Wright.
Welcome to Season 1 of Join the Conversation with Coach Wright. I'm your host, Kurinn Wright, Certified Recovery and Executive Coach. This season is titled Activate Your Power, Doing the Inner Work. Because unlocking your next level begins by getting honest with yourself, tending to the parts of you that need strengthening, sharpening your mindset, and honoring your full potential. You can expect rich, real conversations that challenge and empower you to move forward, not just in thought, but in action. At the end of every episode, you'll receive practical homework to support your journey and help you activate what you've learned. It's about choosing growth, even when it's uncomfortable, and stepping fully into the driver's seat of your life. No waiting, no permission, just forward. Now let's dive into today's episode, Unlocking Your Potential. So what is potential? In simple terms, potential is what you could become if you're willing to do the work to meet it. It's similar to me saying all those years ago to myself, I want to be an entrepreneur. I had no idea what I was asking for. I had no idea what that journey would look like, but I knew that that's what I wanted my end goal to be. And because of that, I was willing to do whatever it took to meet that end. It was quite a journey figuring out what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and how to sustain it. But I knew that starting was where everything would begin. And so volunteering was my first step. I said yes to opportunities that I believed would develop me. And I'm sharing this with you because sometimes we can be so lost and not know where to even start. Start with what you do know and give yourself permission to figure the rest out. There are some things required to meet your potential, like change, discipline, resilience, the ability to pivot naturally if needed, and an expected part of your journey is that you show up for yourself. In case you're questioning what this looks like, let's talk about the butterfly. And let's be honest about it, the caterpillar is not what people vie to see. Everyone wants to see the butterfly, the end result, your potential. But for the butterfly to reach its full potential, it must undergo a complete metamorphosis, transforming from an egg to a larva, which is the caterpillar, and then into the pupa, and finally into a beautiful adult butterfly. This involves physical change, like shedding its old exoskeleton, and it also requires behavior change. And guess what else? The butterfly has to change its diet. There's a lot of change required for that butterfly to become a butterfly. And just like you, there is change required from you as well. To reach my full potential, I must change. That is the first step to unlocking your potential, is accepting that change is a part of the journey to getting there. I'm making this point because if you've decided that you want more out of life, but you're not willing to change, where does that math take you? Could a caterpillar become a butterfly without change? No. And let's keep in mind that everyone doesn't want to be a butterfly. Everyone doesn't want to get to their fullest potential. Some people are very comfortable or happy where they are. But if you are someone who desires to reach your full potential, or at least to take a journey through what some of that potential could look like, first, accept change. And maybe do that by verbally accepting it. I accept that I will have to change if I want to see my full potential. Do you see the potential in yourself? Do the people around you see it in you? Because sometimes others can see the butterfly we already are, while we're looking in the mirror at a caterpillar. The potential to transform lies in your hands only. No one can unlock your potential but you. The thing is, there are no favorites. We all have potential, but there are barriers that can prevent us from unlocking and reaching our full potential. And we're going to dive into some of the most common barriers that might prevent us from achieving ours. As I go through these, I'm going to leave you with keys to unlock each area. Starting with the fear of failure. The anxiety that holds us back from taking risks or trying new things. If the butterfly was afraid to attempt to fly, what would we call them? What would they be? Would they flap while walking on the ground? I mean, butterflies are beautiful to look at. People, especially kids, love and enjoy and get excitement out of seeing a butterfly floating around in the sky, all those beautiful colors. But if butterflies were ground bound, how would that change their place in the world? How would that change our relationship with them? Would they then be bugs we step on by mistake? Would we notice them? Consider how your potential fear of failure may be impacting your place in the world. That's the key. Consider how your potential fear of failure may be impacting your place in the world. Which leads us to negative self-talk. That's the internal dialogue that undermines our confidence, our self-worth, our abilities, and so on. What is the voice in your head telling you when you think about what you want your life to look like? When I said I wanted to be an entrepreneur all those years ago, before becoming one, the voice in my head was telling me, you can do anything. All you need is a plan. And for me, that was true. I believed that. I wrote that down. I said, I just need a plan. Didn't know how to develop it or where to get it from at the time. I just knew that I needed one. But first, I needed direction. I needed to be guided to where do I even go to begin? And I started by just taking steps towards directions that I thought might be that place. And I was met with opportunities that just continued to unfold for me. But there have been voices that have said things I didn't agree with. And this is where I personally apply affirmations. Those passive voices that tell you, you don't know how to do that. You might not win at that. Don't try that. That's going to be too hard. Those are the kinds of voices you have to develop your own personal affirmations to combat. Because if those voices are passively roaming wild in your head and they continue to ruminate and get bigger and bigger, it's like you're playing a tape in your mind that tells you what you can't do over and over and over again. And so then what do? You do what the tape says. So then why don't you write what goes on that tape as an affirmation and play that instead? I am a winner. All I do is win. I can't lose if I try. Trying means applying action. Tell yourself the things that you need to be hearing to support your growth, to support your journey, and to support your goals. This is a very important step in managing your mindset. If you have negative talk in your head and you're not managing it, that's like having the opposite of a best friend always talking to you. And nobody wants that. Another negative thought that might come up is, it's too much work. Now, that might not be as negative as it is unhelpful. Oh, that's too much work. Is that an autopiloted response when you have to do something that's not in your comfort zone or not in your day-to-day? Challenge this statement to give it validity or to remove it as a barrier. What makes this statement true? Is it too much work or does it just require work? Make this a definite true or false. Is the real answer that you don't want to do the work that's required? and think back to the caterpillar and the several stages it must go through to fully transform. Is it too much work, or simply what's required to reach your potential? And let's get honest and let's get real. Let's get true. Let's get honest about what's stopping us. Let's get real about what it takes to unlock our potential and reach it. And let's get true about whether or not we want to pursue it. Try not to see pursuing your potential as a good or bad thing. Let's see it as a choice, a decision that only you get to make. And now we're going to look at limiting beliefs. This is a big one. The stories we tell ourselves that keep us stuck in a cycle of doubt and fear. This could be used to be a deterrent from your goals. This can be used against you without you even being aware. And this could be based on how you were raised, cultural influences, past rejections, self-doubt. Start by identifying and challenging these limiting beliefs that might be coming up for you as your reasons for why you're not able to, or why you can't, or why you don't. Many times you'll find that negative self-talk can be tied to some of your limiting beliefs as well. If you grew up in a household where you weren't allowed to do certain things because those were your parents' rules, if you grew up in a culture where there's shame brought to certain activities or behaviors or ways of living, all of these things can develop limiting beliefs inside you. And the best thing you can do to break free from limiting beliefs is to challenge. Is this what I believe? Is this what I want? Is this what I think? But this is a topic I want to unpack with you even more in our next episode with a special guest expert on debunking limiting beliefs. And then we have procrastination, delaying action due to lack of motivation or fear, or not being perfect. Just like wanting to go and work out and not being in the mood, but finally getting up and getting in the gym and then feeling great once you get there, feeling like it's the best decision you made. Well, one thing about becoming a butterfly, you're going to have to be able to be about actions. But let's touch on procrastination, delaying actions due to a lack of motivation. Now, I want to talk to you about the relationship between mood and action. If we're waiting for the mood to take action, we will be waiting, because sometimes the mood is just what it is. But if you reverse that and take the action, action leads mood. Action drives mood. I don't feel like working out. I want to go work out. I don't feel like going to the gym. You drag yourself up. You go to the gym, and when you get there, you're like, oh my gosh, this workout is just the best thing. I'm so glad I came. Well, the actions are what got you there. And so for procrastination, it's important to take the actions and then let the mood follow. Take the actions and let the mood follow. And I know you're wondering, well, how do I take the actions if I'm not motivated? It's just like when you're hungry and you don't feel like cooking, but you want to eat. You make food happen somehow, don't you? That's what I'm saying. Pull from the part of you that is pullable. And then we have a lack of clarity here. Not knowing what we want or how we're going to get it, not having a clear vision for the future. The short answer here is get yourself a coach or a mentor. If you feel like you are stuck, you don't know which way is up, I can't tell you the number of clients I've received because of that. They're in a space where I just don't know. I need direction. And I love those because it gives both of us a chance to explore. I'm listening, I'm tuning in, and I'm asking questions and giving feedback, and boom, now you have some clarity. And if you don't have anyone around you that could be a mentor, if you're not in a position to get a coach, seek the people in your life who have been good at giving advice. Talk to them about some of the things that may be stopping you from taking that next step. But know that there are resources out there that can help you fast track getting moving. And then you have external judgments. This is the opinions that others can lead us to question our own abilities and dreams, but it's important to know your values. Knowing our values gives us a foundation to stand on. These are the things that I've decided are real and true for me. And when people judge your actions, your ideas, or other things, if you are rooted in your values, you may not feel those judgments as impactful as the other person might feel them. So it is very, very important and imperative to root yourself in your values. What does your value system say? And this goes back to limiting beliefs. This goes back to the negative self-talk. When you think about things that people value, some people will say, well, I value family. And some will say, well, you know what? I value quality time. I value relationships. I value having stability. Whatever you value, there's evidence of that value in your life that's present. That's just true for all of us. If we value something, there's evidence somewhere in our life that suggests we value this. And I want you to really think about what you value when it comes to your future, how you want to see yourself thrive through life, what your boundaries are to get you there, and root yourself in those things so that when those judgments come along, maybe you'll question what they're saying, but you won't question yourself. These are some of the things that could really stop us from taking actions, from moving forward, from reaching our potential, from even unlocking our potential. But let's keep going. Toxic environments. Surrounding ourselves with people or situations that drain our energy and focus. This could be a job, a relationship. This could be family members that constantly drain you with their problems or their own negative self-talk. This could be friends that just want to vent in your ear, and that venting does something to you while it's happening. You want to be there. You want to be a supportive friend, but that's just draining you. It's making you weak. It's taking your energy source. In these cases, it is a must to create healthy boundaries. And you can't create a healthy boundary without a healthy consequence. A boundary is not a bad thing. It is not putting up a barrier to stop people from getting to you. A boundary can be as simple as you communicating your capacity. An example could be that I don't take calls after 9 p.m. And if someone calls after 9, they get voicemail. That's the boundary and the healthy consequence. Now, the average person would say, oh, don't call me after 9. And then if that person calls them after 9, they see the phone ringing, they get upset, they answer, there's an attitude. Well, I told you to call me. Hold on. If you're setting boundaries, you have to hold your boundaries. Why are you lowering that boundary to enter into conflict? The role of the person setting the boundary is to hold the boundary. The role of the person who the boundary has been set for is to hear the boundary. And that's it. We can't count on people not crossing our boundaries because those are not their boundaries. They're ours. And all we have to do is hold them with grace. When you're dealing with toxic environments, it is imperative that you communicate your limits, communicate your boundaries, communicate what your capacity is in certain areas so that the other person can understand. Past traumas is another barrier. Unhealed wounds that create barriers to moving forward. My recommendation here would be to seek counseling or therapy to address those past traumas. Left unaddressed, they will always be an impediment to moving forward in certain areas. Burnout. Burnout is another one. Overworking without rest, burning the candle at both ends. This leads to physical and emotional exhaustion. And this is the opposite of thriving. You cannot thrive if you're burning out. Burning out means exactly that. I'm burning out. Thriving is the opposite. It's develop, growth, forward, which makes it essentially impossible to reach your potential if you're burnt out or burning out. And last but not least is unhealthy habits. Engaging in behaviors that prevent growth, such as substance use or poor time management. Make a list of the habits you engage in daily and get clear pictures of where your time is going and what ways of being may be holding you back. Now, none of this is to suggest that you're wrong. It is to take a look into where are these invisible barriers that might be stopping me from unlocking my potential. Using these keys that I've given you to unlock your potential will develop you. For your action plan on unlocking your potential, there are 6 steps that we're going to go through today. And step 1 is identify your barriers. We've talked about what those potential barriers are. I've given you some key tips on what you could do to offset the barrier. But now I want you to get deep into the actions it's going to take to make progress happen. And this is you literally taking a key, putting it in the keyhole, and turning that key to unlock your potential by doing these things. First, identify your barriers. Take some time to reflect on your own potential. Where could you be? Where could you be? What could you be? Who could you be? What version of yourself could you be living out? And what are the fears, the limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, or the external judgment, or any of the other items holding you back? Write them down. And identify which one seems to have the most power over you. And we're going to start there. Step 2, audit your gap. Evaluate where you are right now versus where you want to be. And here, what we're going to do is, for example, going back to myself, I was working a corporate job that I loved but hated the pressure behind it. I didn't enjoy working with the people too much when it came to how I show up in work versus how some other people would show up. I felt hindered. I felt held back. I felt pulled down sometimes because everyone doesn't work at the same level that you might want to work at. Or maybe you're that person that's not working at the level that you could be working at. But one thing I knew when I said, I see myself here, but I want to be an entrepreneur. And me saying that, I had to envision that every day. And I said, you know what? I wouldn't mind working with, I want to help people. I want to continue to help people. I want to work alone. I could work out of a closet. That's what I said. It could be just a room with a door and a computer. And so as I'm now envisioning what it could look like for me to be from here to here, I'm adding shape to this. Every time I think about it, I'm not just ruminating. I'm not just wishing or hoping. I am now manifesting what I want because I'm giving it shape with my words. I know that now I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I know that I will be working as a solopreneur, which didn't start out that way, but definitely is that way today. And I just knew all the things that I wanted were ahead of me and not behind me. And so auditing that gap, I also told myself, I know my willingness to succeed at this will come with a lot of pivots. I'm going to probably have to try a lot before I get where I'm going and learn a lot. I set my mind in the right place with that. I want you to think about where you are now versus where you want to be. But within that, I want you to daydream about it. And I want you to put daydream somewhere that you can daydream about this every day. You're visually writing what's going to happen. Think about what habits or mindsets or relationships are draining you, right? In this gap, I'm here, but I want to be here. What habits, what thinking, and what relationships are draining you? What are the resources or support systems you're missing to reach your potential? Where's the lack? Where's the pull away? And step 3, design systems. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Motivation alone is not enough to activate your potential because when you're not motivated, you're not going to act. And sometimes when you are motivated, there's something missing in you taking the action. It's like, yeah, I want to do this, but what's missing? Design a system that will make this work for you. Start creating a system that supports growth, whether it's setting up a routine, tools that you can track habits, stacking habits on other habits. So if you're someone who has a morning routine, what could be one thing that you can add to that morning routine that could be a part of this new system of you getting to where you want to be? Is that going to be waking up and doing your daily affirmations and writing down at least one person that you can reach out to make a connection? What is it going to take? Small bites. What is it going to take? So designing that system it's the opposite of depending on motivation, because now you have this system in place. And if you're stacking your habits with that system, you're not pushing yourself too far out of your comfort zone. You're giving yourself an opportunity to move forward. And next, we want to start before you're ready. Listen, let's not go back to procrastination, because sometimes perfectionism lives in there. Sometimes people-pleasing lives in there. You're putting other people first and before you, so you never get to you. We want you to start before you're ready. Before you're ready. Back when I was saying I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I was still working my corporate job, but the year I got laid off, that February, I decided to put on an art show. I had created all this handmade art. It was bursting out of the seams of my apartment. And I thought, well, why not sell this? Everyone loves it anyway. I need to put on an art show. And so I scheduled that art show to happen on June 15th. June 1st is when I got called into the president's office to be told I would be laid off from work on June 30th. I started before I was ready. I wasn't ready to be an entrepreneur at that time. I was ready mentally, but physically, I had not done anything that suggested that I would be a surviving entrepreneur. But I took the leap anyway, not knowing that I would be laid off, not knowing that I would need to rely on those entrepreneurial skills to push myself forward. Take one step towards your goal today, even if it feels uncomfortable. Action precedes confidence. Taking the actions make you look confident whether you feel it or not. Commit to doing something, even if it's small, that pushes you closer to your goal. Step 5, surround yourself strategically. Who are the people in your life that empower you? Connect with them. Identify any passive drains or toxic influences that may be holding you back, and set healthy boundaries to protect your energy. When we talk about surround yourself strategically, it's not just with people. I'm a big believer in having things in your environment that are reminders of what you're doing, where you're going, and what you want. I have a 42-inch whiteboard in my living room, and at the very top it says, push past your comfort zone. In the middle of the board, it has my formula for one of my programs, Doing the Math. Doing the Math is a problem-solving tool that if you're stuck at any point of a problem, this is to help you flesh it out. The reason that's written there is because if I ever feel or get stuck, I go through, where am I in this math equation? Which one of these items am I stuck at? And that's where I go and start the journey from there. And at the bottom of my whiteboard, it says, the only limitation is in my mind, action over everything. I have a few other things written on there, but those are the 3 core things that are staring at me every day when I'm sitting in here working or watching TV or in the kitchen cooking, because I can see it from the kitchen. That's where I am now. But when I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I kept sticky notes. I had this huge bathroom mirror, and on the full right side of my mirror, there were nothing but affirmations written on sticky notes stuck to that mirror. And every day when I would step out of the shower, as I'm getting dressed for work, I would glance over at those affirmations and I would read them with my eyes, and I would pick one a day and take it to work. And that sticky note would live on my computer. I was creating the environment I wanted back then, before becoming a coach. This was in the years between the years of 2000, I would say 10, 11, 12-ish, around that time. But this is what it takes for you to motivate yourself, for you to create your own system of support, for you to be able to challenge those thoughts. It's to bring those positive things into your environment, reshape your environment. I knew I needed words around me, and I've kept them with me. I know that I need people who have similar goals, not the same goals, but who have goals of thriving in life. I need them in my life. I need to be able to talk to someone who wants what I want, who wants to see themselves thriving. That's why I mentor. That's an easy way for me to surround myself strategically, because when I'm mentoring people who want what I want, I get to give back. I get to still be in the conversations I love that make me feel fueled. Connecting with companies and businesses and universities. I mean, surrounding yourself with the things that are setting you up for where you're going. That's an important step. Who are the people in your life that empower you? Connect with them. Identify any passive drains or toxic influences that may be holding you back, and set some healthy boundaries to protect your energy. And then, of course, the last step in your action plan, self-coaching. You will learn how to do that if you continue to listen to my podcasts. Start by asking yourself, what is the next best move I can make today? Journal whatever you reflect on, because when you decide these things need to be written down. You cannot have a successful action plan that lives in your head, because it is competing with negative self-talk and other things, external judgments, and all the other things we talked about. Putting it on paper makes it clear and plain. And if you ever get lost about where you are, you'll always know where you need to be, because you have a roadmap now on that action plan. So journal your reflection, keep track of your progress, and course correct along the way. Start leading yourself daily, and over time, your actions will align with your goals. So now it's time for the homework. Now that you have done this action plan, and if you didn't get a chance to complete it now, please go back and listen to this again and just go through these steps. After completing the action plan, your homework is to reflect and write. Write down the areas in your life where you feel potential is being held back. Identify specific barriers like fear, negative self-talk, or limiting beliefs. Next, we're going to take action. Choose one barrier to focus on this week. Commit to one action step that will challenge it. So if you're looking at barriers, let's say one of the barriers you have is negative self-talk. Okay. Commit to one action step that will challenge it. That action step could be an affirmation. If you have an affirmation for the negative thought, that's not the end of that step. How are you going to ensure that you are applying the affirmation when the negative thought comes up? That's where the work is. That's where the work is. You can have 1,000 affirmations and never use one. You can have one affirmation and use it 1,000 times. So whatever step you choose, make sure that you're not only writing down what's going to happen, but you're considering, how is this going to happen? You must visualize yourself doing it. Just like when you say, I'm hungry, and you visualize yourself walking into the kitchen to get the food. And after going through what it takes to make that food happen, you might decide, I'll just go out and buy food, right? But you visualized both before you took action. I want you to become best friends with positive visualization. And then reflection. At the end of each week, reflect on your progress. What was the experience like? What did you learn about yourself? What is working for you in this? How many weeks did it take you to pick up one good habit of adding something in that gave you what you needed? I want you to really consider these things are not things that happen overnight. However old you are, that's how many years you've been doing things the way you're doing them. You're now being introduced to new information or old information that you're now saying, okay, now these are the files in my head that I needed to be reading right now. And if that's the case, you have to give yourself grace and space of time to get to a new version of you. It's not going to happen overnight, but I've seen these kinds of transitions and changes for people happen in a matter of weeks. It's all up to the person. I've had clients that apply exactly what I give them each week and boom, boom, boom. I've had clients that take more relaxed approach with it and maybe it takes time. It's over the course of months. It just depends on the person. This homework will help solidify the concepts discussed and move you closer to unlocking your potential. Now, I want to leave you with an affirmation, as I will do at the end of every episode. You are more than welcome to use these affirmations or adjust them to your liking. I trust in my ability to create the life I want. I am worthy of success, and I make decisions that move me forward with intention and confidence. I choose progress every day. Stay tuned for our next episode, Breaking Through Limiting Beliefs. We have a very special guest who's coming to talk to us in depth about debunking limiting beliefs. Until next time, join the conversation with Coach Wright.
Stay a while and subscribe.